let's talk about solving equations. My favorite phrase to help us remember the steps for solving an equation is DCAD. So DCAD. If you can remember this little phrase, solving equations and really inequalities is going to be pretty easy for you. First step, always, if possible, is distribute. Now we know every equation is not going to have distributive property, but if it does, you need to get that done first. So always distribute first. After that, or if there is no distributive property, you're going to come down to C, which is combine like terms. And remember, like terms are going to be any terms that have the same variable to the same exponent. The positive and negative, that does not matter. So negative x and x, those are like terms. X and x squared, those would not be. So everything that can be combined, I'm going to do that. Afterwards, I'm going to either add or subtract, depending on what you have, add or subtract the constant. So we need to know our math vocab. Your constant is going to be whichever number does not have a variable with it. Constants are things like 8, -9, 500. Anything like that, just the number itself, that's a constant. Last step, it's going to be divide we've got another big math word, coefficient. Your coefficient, that's going to be the number that's with the variable. So if I have 2x, 2 is the coefficient. -5x, -5 is your coefficient. Okay, so looking at an example, because let's be honest, this is not very helpful unless you're applying it, unless you're seeing it in action. If you have an equation, we're going to start off pretty simple. 2 parentheses x minus 8 close parentheses equals 10. Super simple. I'm not going to give you fractions or decimals just yet. Following DCAD, you're always welcome to write it off to the side so that you can reference it. But looking at this, my first step always is distributive property. Looking at my equation, we can clearly see, yes, I have distributive property. So I need to take care of that. And I'm going to actually change colors for this just to make it a little bit easier to keep up with. When you distribute, remember, you take this number that's being multiplied on the outside of the parentheses, you're going to multiply that all the way through just the parentheses. So 2 times x, that gives us 2x. And then 2 times -8, you got to take that sign that's in front of that constant. 2 times -8 is -16. Now make sure you don't keep distributing. Don't go across that equal sign. I'm done distributing, and I'm just going to bring everything down. So step 1, distribute, that's done. Second step is going to be combine like terms. So looking at this, I don't have like terms on this side. 2x and -16, those are not like terms. They both do not have the same variable to the same power. 10, well, I don't have anything over here to combine it with. So I'm going to go ahead and mark off that. And now I need to add or subtract the constant. So looking at this equation, I do have 2 constants. There's one that if I move it to the other side, it's going to be more helpful. So when I solve an equation, my goal is to get x or whatever variable I have. I need to get it by itself. So to get x alone, this -16, it's got to go. So thinking about the opposite, instead of subtracting 16, I need to add 16. And we all know, whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So if I add 16 here, I add 16 here. This part here, -16 plus 16, that zeroes out. I like to just mark it out using a big Z for 0. Over here, 10 plus 16 gives me 26. And then everything else comes down. So that 0, I don't have to write the 0. My 2x comes down. So now I'm to that last step, divide by the coefficient. The coefficient, remember, is going to be whatever number is paired up with your variable, whatever is multiplied with it. So for this one, my coefficient is 2. So instead of saying 2 times x, I need 2 divided, or 2x divided by 2. Don't divide that x out because you need to solve for it. You don't want to get rid of it. So 2 divided by 2 gives me 1. And I don't have to write 1x. Just writing x is totally fine. Equals 26 divided by 2 gives me 13. And I'm done. That is my final solution.